My boyfriend, 24, has unofficially moved into my flat for the past 6 months. For context, I am 28 and own a small one-bedroom flat in London. My boyfriend lives with 2 housemates about 15 minutes away. We've been together for 2.5 years, but he's always been hesitant about moving in together officially. When we first talked about living together, about 18 months in, he was very much against the idea. He'd never lived with a partner before and felt really nervous about taking that step. After our conversation, he signed a new lease that ends in March 2025. His current housemates include one person he'd never met before and another who's a friend of a friend. I'll admit, I was pretty hurt that he felt more comfortable living with strangers than with me, but I eventually came to terms with it. I've also told him that my flat isn't suitable for us to live in together permanently. It's too small for 2 people, a dog, and all our belongings. Plus, my parents gifted me this flat after I graduated as a stepping stone to becoming independent, so it was never meant for a couple to live in. Unfortunately, that independence hasn't fully materialized. I work a public sector job with long hours and low pay, so I had to rely on my parents for financial support. I've been trying to become more financially independent and stand on my own 2 feet, so I've been doing a lot of overtime. I also work a second job just to make ends meet and have some fun money at the end of the month. With such an insane schedule, I often spend 16 hours out of the house about 8 or 9 days every 10. At first, I loved it when he stayed over occasionally. It was a nice way to balance work and still spend time together. But in the last 6 months, he hasn't spent a single night at his own place. We wake up here, eat here, and go to sleep here. I go to work, he's here. I come home, he's here. I mean, he is here more than I am. I wouldn't mind so much if he didn't make the place so messy. Every day I come home to clothes on the floor, a sink full of dishes, and just general mess everywhere. It drives me crazy, especially since I don't use the kitchen much. I like to keep it clean, and usually just make a quick sandwich to avoid a mess. He only picks up his clothes when he needs to do laundry, only washes up when he needs to cook again, and only takes clothes off the drying rack when he needs to put more on. I can't remember the last time I came home to a clear sink, no clothes on the floor, and no drying rack in the middle of the living room. If you can't tell, I'm pretty particular about my home. I love a clean space, and I get really stressed out when it's dirty and messy. His argument is that a house is meant to look like people live in it. It's not a showroom. When he travels for work, which is rare, I spend the time deep cleaning only for him to mess it up when he gets back. I tell him to clean up, and he always says, I'll do it, but he only ever does it when it's about to go to mess again. He's never hoovered, never cleaned the bathroom, despite him leaving beard hair everywhere, and I feel like I'm constantly either coming home to a mess or using my time off to clean up. I've spoken to him and begged him to respect my home and my personal space at least once a week, but nothing is changing. As if that wasn't bad enough, my bills have nearly doubled or tripled since he's been staying here. The constant cooking, air conditioning, and everything else have caused a huge spike in my expenses. He hasn't offered to cover any of it, which has put even more pressure on me. I can't help but think that after living somewhere for 6 months, it would be considerate to at least offer to cover some of the increased costs. Like I said, he makes more money than me, even with the extra hours and extra job. I don't expect him to pay rent or anything, since he's still paying for his own place, but it would be nice if he at least helped out with the increased electricity, water, Wi-Fi, or something. He buys his own food, but that's mainly because our schedules don't always align for us to eat together, mainly due to my weird shifts. I buy all the snacks and quick meals, and he'll pick things up if I ask him to. But honestly, I'm feeling really overwhelmed and taken for granted, all things considered. And maybe I could deal with all of this if he did anything romantic or showed any appreciation for me, but he hasn't. In the 6 months, he hasn't taken me on a date, surprised me, or done anything to show he cares. Not once has he planned a day using his own initiative. He knows how much this means to me, as we rarely have shared days off. It feels like not only is he adding more pressure to my daily life, but he's also completely neglecting the the romantic side of our relationship. I'm starting to feel really unappreciated and exhausted by it all. How should I approach improving this situation? I don't want him to feel hurt by this or feel unwanted. Is it fair that he doesn't want to move in officially but has practically moved in anyway? Is this a cop-out? Am I expecting too much from the relationship? I still love him and see a future together, but I'm feeling like he doesn't consider my feelings at all. And I can't see a future where this continues, and I can genuinely say I'm happy. Any advice would be greatly appreciated at this point. Now, for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. I've spoken to him and begged him to respect my home, my personal space. Oh, girlfriend. Seriously? Keyword here is my. His argument is that a house is meant to look like people live in it. It's not a showroom. Once again, it is not his house, and he has no say in how it should look. That's just a poor argument for being disrespectful of your reasonable wishes and to absolve himself of responsibility. He sounds so awful. A partner should improve your life, not add stress, more work, or more expense. It sounds like being alone would be better for you. You do sound exhausted, and you deserve to have your home be your refuge. Comment 2. You see a future with this guy? This is your future. Take a good, long look at everything you wrote down and decide if this is what you want for the rest of your life. He will not change. You definitely need him to contribute to the household if he is staying there, and he has already shown he won't. You should have the conversation and ask him to contribute more, and maybe even lay down an ultimatum since just asking hasn't worked. Then stick to it. He's a burden, and you deserve better. Now for the update. I came home from work to find the flat messier than usual. My boyfriend left a pile of dirty laundry in the living room and hadn't washed the dishes again. I stepped on a dog toy and nearly tripped, which made me realize how chaotic everything had become. I decided to confront him about the mess that evening. He brushed off my concerns, claiming he had a long day at work and needed to relax. He laughed and told me I was overreacting, saying I should chill out. A few days later, I was invited to my parents' house for dinner. My parents were excited to see me and my boyfriend, hoping to discuss future plans. During dinner, my dad asked us about moving in together, hoping to encourage us. My boyfriend quickly changed the subject, making a joke about how he loved his freedom. My mom brought up a family vacation they were planning and casually suggested we join. My boyfriend said he couldn't go, citing work commitments, which surprised me. After dinner, I overheard my parents discussing my relationship in the kitchen. My mom said she was worried I was settling for less than I deserved. The next weekend, my boyfriend invited me to a party at his friend's flat. I found out later that he mentioned to his friends he was just having fun in our relationship. A week later, I went to grab something from his bag while cleaning and found a receipt for a hotel. The receipt was dated for a weekend he had claimed to be busy with work. I confronted him about it, and he got defensive, saying it was just a mistake. I demanded to know why he didn't tell me about it, and he said it was no big deal. He accused me of being controlling and said I was making a big deal out of nothing. I decided to take matters into my own hands and planned to get proof. I waited until he went out for a run and checked his laptop for hints about the hotel. I found messages between him and a woman discussing their weekend plans. I crafted a message pretending to be someone else and got a response that confirmed my fears. I decided to accidentally mention the hotel receipt to him during a casual dinner. He went pale and started stumbling over his words, clearly caught off guard. The dinner turned into a screaming match filled with accusations and denials. I ended up saying I was done with the games and needed a break from him. The next day, I packed his things into boxes and left them at his friend's flat while he was at work. I sent him a message saying I was done and that his things were waiting for him. He replied with a mix of confusion and anger, demanding an explanation. I told him he needed to figure out what he wanted, and I was no longer waiting around. I blocked him on social media and changed my locks just to ensure he couldn't come back. Possible future update. If he tries to come back or if he has anything to say, I'm done. I blocked him everywhere, changed my locks, and I'm not letting him mess with my life anymore. If he really wants to act like a child and can't see what he's doing, then he can stay confused. I'm moving on, and nothing's gonna set me back. To answer a few questions, my boyfriend and I had been friends for a while before dating, which is why I trusted him so much. I didn't want to believe he could cheat on me, but finding the hotel receipt changed my mind. I have a decent job in public sector that pays under $30,000. My parents are supportive and live close by, which helps a lot. The dog is mine, and my boyfriend didn't want one at first, but he grew attached. I don't think he'll try to come back, but if he does, I'm ready to move on. Am I the idiot for confronting my wife about her secret meetings with an old college friend? My wife and I have been married since our early 20s. At first, we were fairly straight edge aside from the occasional party beer or two. Fast forward to now, and my wife cannot go a day without heavy Zaza use, or else she becomes extremely depressed. We've been daily smokers for nearly 15 years now. We had just dealt with a first trimester miscarriage, and I think my wife was looking for a way to handle the trauma involved with all of that. She's always had a hard time handling stress and took the miscarriage extremely hard. A few months after the initial shock, and after all the couples counseling involved with losing a pregnancy, she began floating the idea of trying Zaza. I was also kind of curious and had coworkers that could hook us up. We bought an eighth, set up a weekend trip, and smoked for the first time out on a warm, sunny beach. It was the happiest I've seen her since learning about the pregnancy. She was absolutely hooked from day one. We told ourselves it would only be a weekend thing, but that was a lie. Almost immediately, we were daily smokers. I was okay with it at first. It did make me very anxious if I smoked too much, but I loved how content she seemed on it, and I could just see her anxieties melt after taking a hit. That was back in our mid-20s. But now that I'm getting older, I want to break away from daily use. It makes me lazy, and I feel like it keeps me from going out and enjoying the life I have left. My wife, while high, would tell you that she agrees, but every time we try to take a break, it's generally a disaster. It's like all the anxiety she was suppressing with Zaza hits at once. Family issues from decades ago, the miscarriage from 15 years ago, normal daily stressors from her job, everything. She's a wreck after a single day without it. And I will say, it's not like we've been ignoring all this trauma. She's been to counseling and psychologists for years now. It doesn't seem to matter, though. The only thing that really seems to help is Zaza. Now for an update. We just tried taking another break this past month. She seemed confident that she was ready, but nope. She was a wreck. Constantly crying, won't eat, won't go out with friends. Just sitting around doing nothing since her only real hobby was Zaza. I honestly cannot take it anymore. I understand that life was not kind to us years ago, but we've been doing well for years now. We both have good jobs and have a nice house. Very little stress outside a normal amount from work. I want to move on from all that and get back to living life with a mostly sober partner who can handle the ups and downs without immediately becoming overwhelmed and shutting down. She's a good woman, and I don't want to leave her. Plus, I'd be a little concerned about what she would do if I ever left her. She feels so mentally fragile, and I feel like I've been the one thing, aside from Zaza, that's been keeping her going through all this. I'm really tired. I feel like a caretaker more than a partner. Now for a few comments before the update. To be honest, my first issue is it's starting to feel pathetic. That's not really showing much concern or empathy, more that you're looking down on her and judging her. Especially for something you both started doing together and did together for years. You chose to quit because you didn't like what it did to you. Why do you want her to quit? Is she being lazy? Is she not getting things done? Is she not living her life? Those are fair reasons. She could very well be using it as a coping mechanism. But if that's the case, I'd be more worried about her doing more therapy, or couples therapy, and bringing it up with the couples counselor. Edit to add. It seems like you're trying to use the marijuana as an excuse. You said she's mentally fragile, you're tired, and you feel like more of a caretaker than a partner. That seems to be the bigger issue here. This is when you go back to therapy. Therapy alone, therapy for her, and therapy together. She may need medication, which she's substituting with the marijuana as a short-term escape. And when the high wears off, she needs more. Medication would help with that. She needs to treat the anxiety issue first and foremost. That could mean medication, that could mean daily doses of CBD or other relaxants. It could mean many different things. If she doesn't have a tool to help with the anxiety, then of course she can't stop using the only tool she has. Find something that works and begin tapering off the smoking as she begins to feel more at ease on a daily basis. Now for the update. A few weeks passed since Olivia and I tried to quit smoking again. Things were still pretty much the same, but the vibe at home felt different. Just off, you know? I could tell something was up. I noticed Olivia becoming more withdrawn, spending hours in our bedroom, and was even getting a little freaked out. Like, what was she doing in there? I didn't know if she was smoking on the low or what. I was too nervous to ask. Honestly, I was just mentally drained from everything. So I had to take a trip to the grocery store for our weekly shopping. It felt like a rare break from our routine. I thought, hey, maybe a little time apart would do us some good. While I was shopping, I bumped into my neighbor. You know, the one who's basically the neighborhood gossip? She casually asked how Olivia was doing. Like, I don't know, why don't you ask her yourself? The neighbor mentioned that she hadn't seen Olivia around lately, which struck me as odd. I didn't know what to say, so I just gave her some generic answer and moved on. Like, mind your business, lady. I got home and found Olivia sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. What a sight. I mentioned the neighbor's comment, and she suddenly became defensive. She insisted she was fine, but her body language suggested otherwise. She was all tense and jumpy, like she got caught doing something she shouldn't. We had dinner, and she barely touched her food, just picking at her plate. I suggested we take a walk after dinner to get some fresh air, but she refused. So, I went for the walk by myself, trying to clear my head. While I was walking, I got a text from my brother inviting us over for a family dinner the following weekend. I thought it might be a good opportunity for Olivia to connect with family and break the cycle of whatever this is. I brought it up when I got home, and Olivia scoffed at the idea, saying she didn't want to see anyone. I pressed her about why, and she mentioned feeling judged by family members. Yeah, as if I didn't feel that pressure too. I could only imagine what they would say to me. During the week leading up to the dinner, I noticed Olivia sneaking out of the house more frequently. One evening, I decided to follow her. I was concerned about where she was going, and honestly, I just wanted to know what she was up to. I saw her at a small local cafe, meeting an old friend from college. They sat together for a couple of hours. I felt a mix of relief and confusion. At least she wasn't cheating on me, I guess. But still, what was she doing? I didn't want to overreact, so I just went home and tried to calm down. The next day, I confronted Olivia about the meeting. She insisted it was just a catch-up. I asked if she was thinking about using again, and she got angry, saying I was being controlling. Here we go again. The family dinner arrived, and the tension was high as we sat down to eat. My parents brought up their plans for the holidays, and Olivia abruptly stood up, excusing herself. I could see she was on the verge of tears. She walked outside, and I followed her to find her crying on the porch. I tried to comfort her, but she pushed me away, saying she needed space. What am I? A punching bag? My sister-in-law, Rachel, noticed something was off and asked me privately if everything was okay. I admitted I was worried about Olivia and our lifestyle. Rachel just nodded in understanding. The family dinner ended with a sense of unresolved tension. I felt drained, like I had run a marathon or something. After a few days, Olivia came home late one night, smelling strongly of smoke. Here we go. I confronted her about it, and she admitted she had been smoking with her college friend. Our argument escalated, with Olivia accusing me of not understanding her struggles. I decided it was time to lay everything out. Enough was enough. I was planning for a serious conversation. The next morning, I sat her down and said we needed to discuss our future without Zaza. I just laid it all out for her. I told her I was worried about her, and I couldn't keep living like this. We agreed to try a new therapist together, hoping for a fresh perspective. I was skeptical, but what did we have to lose? Our first session was intense. We both opened up about our fears and desires. Olivia expressed a desire to try and quit for good, but only if we had a plan. I was all for it. We created a schedule for healthier activities, including hiking and joining a local book club. We were both nerds, so we figured it would be fun. A few weeks later, I noticed some significant changes in Olivia's mood and energy. She was more engaged, less anxious. She even started cooking again, which was like a miracle in our household. I felt more like her partner and less like her caretaker. Things were still a work in progress, but at least we were working on it together. Edit. It's been about 3 months since Olivia and I started working on things. I'll be honest, it's been a roller coaster. We've had our ups and downs, and some days are tougher than others. Olivia has been smoke-free for a little over 2 months. It hasn't been easy, but she's really dedicated to it, and I'm proud of her. We're still seeing the therapist, and I think that's been a big help for both of us. We're not perfect, but we're getting there. Am I the idiot for not moving on after my boyfriend emotionally cheated on me and then ghosted me? My boyfriend and I started dating a year ago in July. I found out in April that he was cheating on me, as far as I know with definite proof, from September to February. It wasn't physical cheating, but he was messaging at least 5 different girls that I know of. One of them an ex that he showed other signs that he wasn't over. When I confronted him about it, he deleted these girls from all social media and blocked his ex. I decided to give him a second chance after he begged for my forgiveness and promised it would never happen again, claiming it was just a silly mistake and didn't mean anything. He eventually even deleted his social media altogether without me asking to make me feel better. We've been working on our relationship since, but it's been really hard for me to move past him cheating. I'm constantly reminded of what he did every day. If I see a girl I think he would find attractive, or someone says a word or phrase like he said to any of the girls. And for now, I want to be with him despite how hard it is for me. But my problem is, for the past 3 months, anytime I bring up how he hurt me or how I feel because of him cheating, he immediately shuts down the conversation by saying, "No, I'm not doing this." At first, I thought he was just holding a boundary, that he didn't want me to attack him about the cheating. So I started just talking about how I feel about various things. And lately, he won't even listen to me when I talk about how insecure and unhappy I feel. He either just ignores me or tells me to leave if I push the subject. He keeps saying I'm not trying and he's done being the one trying, but I don't see it like that. The way I see it, him trying is just him doing everything he should have done from the beginning, not cheating on me. It's gotten to the point now where I can't tell if it's really just me not being able to move past this and be present in the relationship, or if he's just being inconsiderate or consciously trying to manipulate me. Whenever we argue about this topic, he makes me feel like it's me who's the problem for feeling insecure and unhappy because he cheated on me. But part of me feels like he owes it to me to help me recover from this, especially if he really does want to stay with me like he claims. Am I the problem here? Should I be doing more to move past this without talking about it with him? I feel like he expects me to struggle with this all alone, and the two of us are at an impasse when it comes to this topic. Also, I don't know if this matters, but he has treatment-resistant depression. And the last time we argued about him cheating, he said he already doesn't want to be here and needs to hold this boundary to protect his peace, even if that means losing me. But he also added that he doesn't want to lose me, just that he can't talk about him cheating to protect his peace. I do love him and want to be with him. I just don't know how to handle this disagreement. This boundary feels unjust to me, like it's at odds with our relationship and doesn't make sense. If anyone has any insight, please help me. I really need an outside perspective. Now for a few comments before the update. Comment 1. For some reason, you decided to stay with a guy who cheated on you longer than he was faithful to you. That's your prerogative. While I think he's not a worthy partner, he does have a point. Why stay with him when you keep talking about how he hurt you? The smarter thing would be to leave his sorry self, but hey, you wanted to stay and work on it. That's the work. Comment 2. This is like being in a relationship with Dexter, but he refuses to talk about all the ending the life of, to protect his peace. Your boyfriend has a point in that if you can't move forward, it's not healthy to keep going in circles. but he's completely missing the mark that some conversations need to happen for the betrayed partner to be able to move forward. Now for the update, I'm back with an update. A month has passed since my last post. Things have changed again, not in a good way. My boyfriend has been more distant than ever. I don't know what his deal is, but he keeps shutting me out. About a week ago, we went to a family barbecue at my parents' house. They were excited to have everyone together for the first time since the cheating discovery. I thought this was a good opportunity for us to connect again, but nope, that didn't happen. My boyfriend acted like we were total strangers. He seemed to engage with everyone else but me. It was like I didn't even exist. The only person he really talked to was my brother, which was annoying because my brother knows nothing about our relationship issues. Like, why does he get to have a normal family dinner while I'm sitting here feeling ignored? I tried to start a conversation with him during the barbecue, but he just brushed me off like I was an annoying fly. His attitude was just so ridiculous. My younger sister ended up spilling a drink on his shirt, and he actually laughed it off. I thought maybe that would lighten the mood or something, but no. Later on, I found him outside just staring at his phone like he was in another world. I asked him what was wrong, but he snapped at me to leave him alone. I mean, what the hell? The next day I noticed he had deleted our shared photo from social media. We had posted it like 4 months ago. I confronted him about it and he claimed it was nothing significant. I don't know what's going on, but everything feels off. A week later, we were both invited to a friend's birthday party. I thought maybe this would be a good distraction for us. Nope. At the party, my boyfriend spent the whole night with a girl from his past, not even trying to hide it. I was fuming inside, but knew I had to wait until we were alone to address it. When we finally were, he dismissed my concerns, saying I was being paranoid. I can't keep doing this. I decided to take a step back and focus on myself. I went out with my friends for a night of fun and to forget all this craziness. While at a bar, I ran into one of the girls he had been messaging. We exchanged awkward pleasantries before she left, and then I sent a message to my boyfriend about the encounter. His response was pure anger, accusing me of causing trouble. The argument escalated quickly through text, and we ended up on a phone call. He hung up on me during the call, saying he needed space. The next day, I received a package at my apartment. Inside was a letter and a small box with a bracelet. The letter was from my boyfriend, apologizing for his behavior. The bracelet was a gift he intended to give me on our anniversary. I was so confused. When I arrived at his apartment, I found it empty. A note on the door indicated he had gone to stay with a friend. Then the unexpected twist hit. I received a call from his mother. She told me that my boyfriend had checked himself into a retreat. I don't know what to do now. If you like this video, you'll probably like these too. Also, while you're here, please consider subscribing. It's your support that keeps this channel alive and allows me to make better and longer videos. Have a great day.